My name is Earl Randall III. I'm the field office director for the New Orleans field office. I've been the field office director for a little more than a year now, maybe about a year and 4 months now. At the time of Katrina, I was a CPD rep, and I was the rep for Shreveport and Bossier City. But specifically when the hurricane hit, I was asked to come back and work with the field office director to coordinate a lot of the on-the-ground responses to Katrina. You know, at that time we had a lot of high-profile visits in and out of New Orleans, and I was responsible for coordinating a lot of those visits on the ground. One in particular was the first congressional field hearing that was held on the ground, and so I coordinated that entire effort for HUD. Initially, all of the weather reports were saying that the storm was going to take the turn and hit the panhandle of Florida. So that Friday, I was on my way home, and believe it or not, I was planning on having a barbecue that Saturday. And I was going home to tell my wife, you know, let's throw some stuff on the grill and invite a couple folks over, you know, because the storm is going to take the turn, and, you know, we'll just have a weekend. But when I made it home, my wife was saying, I said, well, what do you have planned for tomorrow? She said, we're getting out of here. And I was like, well, what do you mean we're getting out of here? She said, the storm didn't take the turn, so we need to prepare to leave. And so typically leading up to a hurricane, we could actually plan almost 172 hours out. But in this case, we didn't have that. We didn't have that luxury. The storm didn't take the turn, and so we were 48 hours out from landfall, and we had to make the decision to leave. So my wife went into hurricane mode, and we jumped in the car. And we were on the road when they instituted what's called counterflow. That's where all of the traffic is going one way out of the city, and we were actually the third car in line to get out of the city. And so typically a drive, it took us 45 minutes to get from New Orleans to Baton Rouge. My parents left the next day, and it took them 13 hours to make the same drive. Personally, you know, as I mentioned, Katrina, you know, it took us by surprise. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, you're thinking you're hopping in the car and you're going for the weekend, you're coming back, and everything will be, you know, pick up a few leaves here, pick up a few shingles there, and, you know, you're coming back. But we were actually in Baton Rouge for almost 2 months. And so it was weird because we went to Baton Rouge, and we were sitting watching the aftermath on television, and we all understood that the city weathered the storm, and that we were thinking we were getting ready to go back, but then the levee failure started to happen, and it was, you know, we're seeing all of this water inundate the city. And so we kept hearing reports about the west bank of the city, which we live on the west bank, and so we didn't know exactly, and so we didn't know what the state of our home was, because we just kept hearing things about the Harvey Canal and other stuff. So we really had no idea. We were allowed to go back into the city, I think, on October 16th. So from August 29th to October 16th, we really had no clue about what happened to our home on the West Bank. But we did have reports that my grandfather and my parents had lost their homes. My grandfathers both were in the lower Ninth Ward, and my parents were out in New Orleans East. Actually, going back into the office, as I mentioned earlier today, it was an eerie feeling. You know, I was asked to serve on what's called a reconstitution team for the field office. So it was 5 of us at the time. It was myself, the field office director, Marvel Robertson, Don Babers, who was the regional administrator for Region 6 at the time, and we had 2 other Fort Worth administrators to come in as well. And so we walked into the field office, and to see all of the calendars on the 27th of August, which was that Friday, you know, to see, like I said, coffee cups, you know, in the same spot that was left on the desk that Friday, you know, just to see those things, and to see stuff on my desk that was left in the same condition since for 2 months. I mean, that feeling, it really kind of shocked me, and it rocked me, knowing that this whole 2-month span, nothing changed. Everything stopped. Everything was at a standstill, frozen in time.